I would like to make a video reply to a friend that I believe took issue with something I said on a video. Now, I'm not going to tag this friend because he didn't tag me in the video in which he took issue with, I believe, something I said. Could be somebody else, but I believe it was something I said. And I'm not gonna clap back at him because he's still a friend. And I think before we even get into this, it's important. He's a digital friend. I've never actually hung out with him, but I think it's important to understand the difference between people on the left side of the ledger, whether it be center left all the way to far left, or people on the right side of the ledger. Let me pause. This probably excludes people on the far left. But the difference between us on the left side of the ledger and the people on the right side of the ledger is that we can disagree on things. We can say we agree on 90% of things, 92% of things, 85% of things. And we disagree on this section. And then we can have a conversation about it and not hate each other afterwards. The right, at least the far right, it appears you can't do that. If you speak out against the dear leader in any way, shape, or form, you're out of the big fucking club. And on the far left, as we've seen over the course of time here in the last decade, at a minimum, that you don't agree with them on everything, then you are out of the big fucking club as well. So we can disagree, my friend and I. So here's the background. I did a video showing ICE officers, or at least what we believe to be ICE officers, because they're not really identified, in a private establishment, in a private business, and taking somebody away without a warrant and telling the owner of the establishment to get back and that they didn't need a fucking warrant. And I said, this is why people need to get armed and stand their ground and protect themselves against what's going on. And I went off camera, not with an actual gun, because my guns are locked up. I'm not somebody that just has them hanging around. And this friend said that he had a question for left-leaning content creators who are, what he said, calling for violence and acting like an internet tough guy and clicking their guns off camera. And he said, are you going to do it, or are you just going to wait for somebody else to do it so you can make a video of it? I didn't care for the tough guy comment, but I mean, that he's making his point, and it's fine. It is what it is. I'm not going to not be friends with this guy because we agree on so many other things. We just disagree on this thing. So let me tell you where I'm coming from. One, I'm not calling for violence. I'm calling for people to defend themselves. I think that there's a difference. Calling for violence is that we're going to go attack these fucking people no matter what. I'm suggesting that people protect themselves. People are being disappeared. People are being unalived. They're breaking into people's homes without warrants. I'm saying I think people should defend themselves, because what we've seen out of this administration and out of this organization in particular is that you're going to wind up disappeared. You're going to wind up in some concentration camp in Florida or Texas if you're lucky. And if you're not lucky, you're going to wind up in some prison camp in some other country somewhere where they think that you're a gang member and you're going to be in CCOT or somewhere like that. So I'm not calling for violence. I'm calling for people to defend themselves. Now, the crux of the question was, would I do it, or am I going to wait for somebody else to do it? Am I going to go out into the streets and fight ICE? No, my neighborhood is not under attack. Would I fight them if they came into my house? Yeah, I would. And I know that the person that asked the question is asking it sincerely, so I'm answering it sincerely. I've lived in this house for 21 years. I have never thought about keeping my weapons loaded and at the ready in case somebody breaks in, because we live in a nice, quiet, small town. There is very little crime. There's no real reason to yet, but I'm very seriously thinking about it at this point in time, because, and this is key, we're operating on two different sets of rules. Now, I've made videos saying we either are a country of laws or we're not a country of laws. We're either going to obey the law or we're not going to obey the law when it comes to things like Luigi Mangione. So why am I saying this now? Because they're not obeying the law. ICE doesn't give a shit about the laws. ICE isn't even legally allowed to interact with American citizens unless American citizens are somehow hindering what they're doing. They're stopping American citizens. They're pulling them out of their cars. They're cutting their seatbelts out and dragging them across the snow. They're throwing them in detention centers. They're sending them out of the country. And in some cases, they're killing them. They're telling people they don't need a warrant to be on their private residence or in their private business. They're busting down homes without the doors of homes without warrants. So we're not operating on the same playing field. We're not operating by the same set of laws. And I know that if, for whatever reason, and I don't think this is going to happen, but for whatever reason, the Trump administration and ICE decided they were going to start going after every left-leaning content creator and lock them up. And they came to my door. I know that if I got apprehended by ICE and wound up in El Salvador or Nigeria or somewhere else, I wouldn't make it out alive. So I would rather defend myself and my family in my own living room, call the lawyer, and take my chances in court here. Especially because, once again, they would be doing so without a legal warrant. They would be doing so without legal authorization to do so. And they're doing all of this without, in many cases, identifying themselves. Okay, they have a police or an ICE Velcro patch on them, but they're not identifying themselves. There's no badge. There's no badge number. There's no warrant. There's, in many cases, not even faces because they're covering their faces. And I would dare say that if an armed man with no warrant came into your home to come get you, you would defend yourself too. At least I would like to think you would defend yourself. So to answer your question, am I going to do it or am I going to wait for somebody else to do it? They come to my home, yeah, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to defend myself and my family rather than wind up getting nabbed, finding myself 10 states away within the next 12 hours, and then who knows where in the next couple of days. It's not violence. It's self-protection. It's self-preservation. And we're not operating on the same set of guidelines that ICE is. So, yeah, I think I would. And it's fucking sad that it's come to that in this country. Because if federal law enforcement came to my door and said, boom, 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 we got a warrant, I'd open the door. You got a warrant, let's go. But that's not what they're doing. If the local police came to my door and said, boom, 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 we got a warrant. All right, let's go talk about the warrant. Let's go to wherever you need to take me and process me and so forth and so on. They're not doing that. They're breaking into people's homes. They're breaking into people's businesses. They're telling the people that own these businesses and own these homes to back the fuck up while they do their business and that they don't need a warrant. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. So I understand the issue that you took with my video. We're still cool. I got no problem with you, even though you took an issue with something I said. I've taken issue with things other people have said that I'm still cool with too. So, to the person who made the video and knows who made the video, like I said, I'm not going to tag them so that a whole online beef starts, right? I don't need to be involved in some fucking Womblands bullshit, right? We just disagree on this one thing. We're cool, but that's my answer. And I think that you've seen other people in the comment section reply to the same effect, which is, hell yeah, I'm going to defend myself in my home. Am I going to go out in the streets and start looking for trouble? Am I going to go hunt down ICE agents? No. Do I believe that ICE agents who have murdered people need to be hunted down in the sense of we need to expose them and we need to constantly protest everywhere they go? In some way, shape, or form? Yeah, I'd love to see nothing more than that happen to these scumbags who murder American citizens. I'm talking about in my home, which is also my place of business. Yeah, I'm not going to let somebody just take me, my wife, or my son out of this home because they don't like what I have to say.